The Telari Empire had ruled for millennia. Its nobility bore into power, each generation bred for perfection. Princess Sareva, daughter of High Chancellor Varan, was no exception. Trained in diplomacy, fluent in 13 languages and proficient in martial theory, she considered herself ready for anything the galaxy could throw at her. She had not yet met a true Deathworld. Her mission was straightforward. Observe the humans of the outer colonies, assess their integration into the Empire, and report on potential diplomatic expansion. It was a show of goodwill from the Telari. The humans would be flattered. She would return victorious. Sarava's shuttle was sleek, crewed by hand-picked officers loyal to her bloodline. She spent the descent reviewing psychological profiles of the human settlers, noting phrases like pragmatic, resilient, and volatile under pressure. She found it quaint. The sky shattered around her. Explosions tore through the atmosphere. Alarm screamed. Her guard was shouting. Then gravity betrayed her. She remembered the violent lurch as her shuttle spiraled down. The view outside replaced by flames and smoke, her world reduced to impact and silence. She woke to chaos. Smoke choked the air. Fires flickered through shattered hull plates. The smell of scorched metal and burning synthetics stung her nostrils. Her arm was broken, bone piercing through skin. The pain was distant, abstract. She had been trained to detach, to remain composed. She called out. No answer. She dragged herself in the wreckage, stumbling through the twisted remains of her diplomatic cruiser. The forest around her hissed with toxic mist and unnatural silence. No familiar stars. No signal. By the second day, she knew she would die. Her training had prepared her for survival on a Class 7 Deathworld. Her food stores were gone. Her environmental suit had ruptured. The temperature dropped with nightfall. She curled under a broken wing of the shuttle, trembling. Royal blood meant nothing to predators. That was when the human arrived. She barely heard him approach. One moment, she was alone. The next, a figure knelt beside her, inspecting her injuries with quick, efficient movements. His uniform was torn, his armor repurposed from scraps. He smelled like sweat and rust. His voice was calm. You're lucky to be alive. She tried to assert her status. Told him she was Princess Sareva of the Telari Empire. He stared at her like she had declared herself a bowl of soup. Then he cut her sleeve and set her arm. She screamed. Better now than later, he said. This place doesn't wait. She demanded his name. He replied, Sergeant Cole Mercer. No rank insignia, no salute, no reverence. Just a name. He offered her water, foul-tasting but clean. She refused. He shrugged and drank it himself. When night came, he built a crude shelter using thermal panels and alien bark. She lay beside him, stiff with pride. He slept. She didn't. The next day, he handed her a stick. For walking. We move. You want to live, you walk. She told him to carry her. He looked her over. You're not bleeding out. You walk. She walked. By midday, her legs ached and her pride blistered. Cole never slowed. He navigated by sun and instinct. He avoided toxic zones with practiced ease. He pointed out signs of predator movement. She struggled to keep up. She asked why he was alone. He said his squad was wiped out during a recon months ago. No extraction. No backup. He'd survived since then by adapting. I thought humans were reckless and impulsive, she said. We are. That's why we win. She tripped. He caught her. She thanked him begrudgingly. That night, the temperature dropped below freezing. She curled against a rock, shivering violently. Cole threw a tarp over both of them, his body a furnace against the cold. She resisted. He didn't move. Die cold or sleep warm. Your call. In the morning, she didn't speak. Neither did he. He handed her dried meat. She tried to refuse again. He grunted and took it back. Her stomach growled. She reached out silently. He didn't mock her. They walked. On the fourth day, a native predator, a six-limbed, chitinous beast, ambushed them. Sareva froze. Cole moved without hesitation. A spear of metal, shaped from a shuttle strut, punched through the creature's eye. It writhed. He finished it with a stone. Blood covered his arms. He checked her. "You hurt." She shook her head. He sat down and began cleaning the spear. She sat beside him. "That was a Telari execution class predator. We use orbital strikes for those. Good thing I'm not Telari." She studied him. "You planned that?" "I guess it would ambush there. They like the ridges." She asked how he knew. He shrugged. "Watched. Paid attention. Lived." She said nothing. They reached a ridge the next day. Below was a wasteland of cracked stone and poisonous fog. They had to cross it. Cole wrapped her face with cloth, sealed her cuts with tree resin. They moved fast. Halfway through, her strength gave out. She collapsed, coughing. The toxins burned her lungs. Cole lifted her, without a word. She protested. Later, he carried her until the fog thinned and the rocks turned to dirt. He dropped beside a tree, breathing hard. She sat up. "You could have left me." "Could have. Didn't." "Why not?" "Because you're not dead weight. You just haven't proven it yet." She stared at him. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No courtier, no guard, not even her father. That night, she took first watch. The days blurred. She no longer tracked time by the sun, but by pain, hunger, movement, rest. Cole taught her purify water with heat stones. She learned to identify edible plants by taste and reaction. He quizzed her mid-step. "Which plant burns on touch? Which heals wounds?" She answered correctly more often than not. He started calling her Sarah. She didn't correct him. Her body hardened. The blisters became calluses. She stopped waiting for orders or salvation. She started moving because she wanted to, not to prove herself, but because survival demanded it. When they reached a ravine too steep to descend directly, Cole built a makeshift harness. She watched him work. "You engineer as well?" "No, but I know knots." "Who taught you?" "A friend. Died on this moon." She didn't ask more. He lowered her first. When she reached the bottom, she braced a line for him. He nodded. Trust passed silently between them. That night, a storm rolled in. The shelter was weak. Cole shivered beside her, body worn. She wrapped the tarp around him, pressed close. "You carried me. I carry you now." He didn't reply. He didn't have to. The next morning, they moved slower. His leg had been injured during the climb. She supported him. Their roles reversed. "We make it to the plateau," he said. "We find an old listening post. Might have comms. Then we go there," she said. He smiled. It was the first time she saw him as more than a soldier. As the plateau loomed, she looked back at the wild terrain behind them. It no longer felt alien. It felt conquered, and she had not done it alone. She reached out and took Cole's hand. They walked together. The plateau was desolate, its surface windswept and cracked, with broken antennae from long-abandoned Telari infrastructure poking through the stone like bones. Sareva recognized the design, a century-old recon outpost, automated and left behind during the early days of expansion. She didn't voice it. Cole was limping harder now, blood crusting through a tear in his pant leg. He didn't complain. The comms tower had collapsed. Its interior, half buried in rubble, held nothing functional. No power, no signal. Sareva scavenged with practiced hands. Finding an intact energy cell, small but potent, she handed it to Cole. He nodded approval but said nothing. They stayed 2 nights in the outpost ruins. Cole's fever worsened. He refused rest until she forced him to stop. She crushed pain root into powder, mixed it with water, and held the cup to his lips. He drank. She sat beside him, sharpening the spear. By the 3rd day, he could stand again, though his steps were uneven. She insisted on carrying more weight. He didn't argue. They moved west, toward a ridge that Sareva believed concealed a larger communication array. The maps in her memory were vague, but she trusted the logic of Telari infrastructure. One station never stood alone. They encountered another predator. This one stalked them for hours before striking. Sareva saw it first, caught its reflection in a pool of standing water. She didn't shout. She acted. The spear flew from her hand, striking its shoulder. It roared. Cole finished it with a jagged blade. Afterward, they stood over the corpse in silence. Sareva retrieved the spear, cleaned it, handed it back to Cole. He declined. Yours now. She accepted it without question. 2 days later, they reached the buried array. It had power. Not much, but enough. Sareva bypassed the Telari command locks using her genetic imprint. The system hummed weakly. Cole watched, arms crossed, as she transmitted a priority distress beacon. How long? He asked. Depends who hears it. Days. Maybe weeks. He nodded. We stay hidden until they come. They camped in the lower levels, using power conduits for heat. Food was scarce. Water had to be filtered slowly. Time passed in silence and short conversations. Sareva asked about Earth. Cole described it like a memory seen through fog. Dense forests, storms, cities layered in history. She asked if he missed it. He said no. Earth was just where he started. Survival taught him not to look back. She told him about Telari Prime, floating cities, endless sky, gardens that stretched over oceans. He listened, eyes half closed. She realized then how far from home they both were. One morning, the beacon stopped blinking. A reply had come. She scanned the message. A Telari cruiser. 3 days out. She turned to Cole. We made it. You made it. You too. I'm not royalty. You're not leaving. The days that followed felt heavier. They talked less. Cole cleaned his weapons obsessively. Sareva checked the signal every hour. When the ship arrived, it would change everything. The third night, they were ambushed, not by animals, but by scavengers. Human, 3 of them, malnourished, desperate, armed with scrap rifles. They wanted the array, the supplies, everything. Cole moved first. His knife struck the first in the throat. Sareva used a spear, driving it into another's chest. The last fired a shot that missed. Cole tackled him, wrestled the weapon away. Blood, gasping, silence. Sareva stood trembling, not with fear, but fury. They were human. They were dead already. They just didn't know it. She cleaned her hands and didn't speak again that night. The cruiser came 2 days later, descending like a silver blade from the sky. Telari Marines swarmed the area, securing the site. Medics rushed toward Sareva. She ignored them. Cole stood apart, expression blank. The commander approached, saluted her. Princess Sareva, we feared the worst. You'll be debriefed immediately. This human, did he harm you? She stared at the officer. He saved me. He is not of the Empire. Then the Empire owes him a debt. They took her aboard. Cole followed at her insistence. The crew watched him with thinly veiled suspicion. Sareva remained at his side. During medical review, her father's message arrived. Chancellor Varion's face was projected on the screen, regal and unreadable. You survived. That is enough. We'll speak at the Capitol. She didn't reply. She turned to Cole after the transmission ended. Will you come with me? He hesitated. I don't belong in palaces. You belong with me. The days aboard the cruiser passed in tense quiet. Telari officers avoided Cole. They whispered. They feared him. He noticed. They think I'm dangerous. You are. That's why I trust you. When they reached Telari Prime, the welcome was cold, ceremonial, parades and press, but no warmth. Sareva stood before the High Council, detailing her report. She described the crash, the death world, the predators, the survival. Cole, she called him a soldier, a guardian, an equal. The council objected. Humans were primitive, savage, unfit to be mentioned in the same breath as nobility. She said nothing. She only looked at Cole, then back at them. Then I renounced nobility. Gasps filled the chamber. Her father's expression darkened. You disgrace your bloodline. No, I redefined it. She walked away. Cole followed. Outside the chamber, she turned to him. Now, you're not just a human. You're the only one I trust. He didn't smile, but his hand found hers, and she didn't let go.